Before we get rolling with this week's video, I do believe we have a secret giveaway winner to announce. So at some point during last week's video, some mysterious third hand showed this within the frame. And all you had to do was go to that address, benhorne.com/greenbox, and you saw that I was doing a secret giveaway that was not announced on social media or anywhere else for a pro pack of Velvia 50, my favorite film in the 120 format. So there's 5 rolls of 120 Velvia 50 here. And the question is, why am I giving away Velvia 50 in the 120 format when I don't even have a camera that uses Velvia 50 in the 120 format? Well, I won it for free on Fuji's Instagram account. They chose one of my photos, they displayed it, and it was their 120 and 35 millimeter pro film account. And so the prize was 10 rolls of film of my choice. So I said Velvia 50, and they sent me both some 120 as well as some 35 millimeter. So I still will do another giveaway for the 35 millimeter film at some point within maybe the next month or so. But what is, I chose a random number between 1 and 87 because there were 87 of you guys who entered to win the film. And I had Siri choose a random number. That number was 47. And the winner is Mike Franklin. So congratulations, Mike. I will reach out to you in just a little bit, maybe give you the opportunity to watch it here in the video first. And then I'll get an address from you where I can send you your film, and hopefully you'll make some very good use of it. But this week's video is all about getting the Intrepid 8x10 camera ready for my first trip with that camera. So it's going to be a backpacking trip. I'll use the Arca Swiss for the main part of the trip, the Intrepid for the backpacking part, and gotta learn the camera first. So hope you guys enjoy. What is going on, everyone? So in this week's video, I want to talk a little bit more about the Intrepid 8x10 camera. And a lot of this is because I'm only a few weeks away from my spring trip. And if the weather cooperates, hopefully there will be a backpacking part of that trip. And that's one of the things I've been really preparing for the past couple of months or so. And we'll see how that goes. But one of the big changes on this trip is that I will be using the Intrepid 8x10 camera on the backpacking portion of the trip, and then the Arca Swiss camera on the remaining portion of the trip. The Intrepid 8x10, it's a much lighter weight camera. It packs down really nice and compact, so it'll be really well suited for the backpacking part of the trip. But I really do have to make sure that I know the camera very well. I test the camera very well so I can actually have a lot of confidence in the camera when I'm out in the field. So I've spent a lot of time lately kind of going over the camera, learning more about it, and trying to figure out ways to keep things really simple on the backpacking part of the trip, as well as keep things really light. And part of that is I'm not going to bring a tripod head with me. It sounds a little weird, but I'm going to use a leveling base. This is a Benro leveling base. This is the LBA2. It's listed in the Amazon link down below in the show notes. But this is what I use when I use my slider for video shots. I can have a 2-foot slider on there. The camera can move from one side to the other. It's rock solid. It's rated for like 100 pounds. And to top of that, I put a Arca Swiss quick release. So it gives me a really solid head that weighs a lot less than taking a normal tripod head. I have 15 degrees of motion, side, side, up, down. It's not really going to be for intimate sort of landscape photos, but I probably won't run into much of any of that on the backpacking part of the trip. I'm mostly going to be aiming the camera straight ahead, a little up, a little bit down, and it gives me plenty of flexibility for doing that. But this weighs about half of what my other tripod heads would weigh, and also packs down nice and small, which is really nice. As far as a case for the camera, I had a custom wrap made by Dan Stone of Stone Photo Gear. And what's really nice is I can fit not only the camera, but also some film holders in this. And I can drop that right inside my backpack. I always find that the wraps are the easiest way of keeping things clean, keeping things protected when dropping it inside a bigger backpack. As far as the camera itself, since I have a Arca Swiss clamp up here, I wanted to get a plate for the bottom of the camera. And based on some prior experiences I had with my Ebony camera, I had a really right stuff plate that attached to the bottom of the camera. Had 2 screws on it. From that sense, it was really strong, it was built really well. But I always felt like the camera kind of rocked from side to side on that plate because it didn't have enough stability as far as from the side to side. So it's kind of by chance that I happened to stumble upon a quick release plate that's made by Kessler Crane. And it has exactly what I'd been looking for all along. If you look at the bottom of the camera here, you see the plate that has these wings on it. It also has these little parts here, kind of doubles as a stand, which is kind of nice. I think this is made for like cinema cameras and stuff, where it's actually designed to provide a base that's a little bit wider so the camera is going to be more stable. But in the case of a view camera like this, it gives that side-to-side stability, which is really, really important. The only thing I had to do was take off some little rubber grip pieces that are on the underside of this long part right here. That way it makes contact all the way across instead of just in the middle. But with this plate, it's really, really solid. So if you guys are looking for a quick release Arca Swiss style plate for an 8x10 view camera or a 4x5 view camera or any sort of big camera, they make these guys in a few different sizes. This is the XL, this is the biggest one, and I'm a big, big fan of that plate. But if I take this, if I drop it right into the quick release there, and if I lock this in place like that, you'll see that this is rock solid, side to side, front and back. So I'm really, really happy with that plate. If I loosen the leveling base here, I have a fair amount of ability to move it around, more than enough to cover any of the sort of normal sort of landscapey sort of photos that you find in the field. It's not really gonna be great for intimate landscape photos. I might be able to make that work by having the legs at a weird angle, but I think where I'm going, it's gonna be more so kind of shooting straight ahead. Another thing, now I put out a video a little while back where I was talking about the front standard of the Intrepid, especially compared to the Arca Swiss. The rear standard was really solid. I felt the front standard wasn't quite as solid as I wanted. I found a way of using some cord to tighten it down. Well, I've made another kind of interesting discovery here. So when Intrepid came out with their second generation 4x5, I found that the front standard didn't grip really well to the focusing bed. And even if you lock down the knob, you can move it from side to side pretty easily. So I used gaff tape just to wrap two bands right around the front standard, and it really held very well. And in response to that, Intrepid came out with the 8x10. They have these 3 strips of grip tape on the bottom of the front standard so that it can't slide from side to side. But just kind of on a hunch, I decided to take those off and try to do the gaff tape modification here again. And what I learned is really interesting. I learned that the camera, not only does it resist the side-to-side motion really well, it's also more stable with the front standard. And I will say it's actually pretty darn rigid. So if you want to beef up the front standard of your Intrepid 8x10, go ahead and take off those pieces of grip tape and take a little bit of gaff tape and just go right around the whole thing. I wrapped it around there like twice. And now when you lock this down, it's not going anywhere. There's something about this material. The specific gaff tape I'm using is made by Savage. It's not cheap, it's like 30 bucks for a roll of it, but you'll find all kinds of uses for it. Big fan of doing that. That worked out really well. It does take away a little bit of movements as far as being able to, shift the front from side to side. But in all honesty, I never really use that anyways, so it's really no big loss. Another thing too, at least on my camera, this locking knob right here, the sort of washer part of it had come free of there, and it seemed like it'd be really easy to lose that. So I used some epoxy and I attached that to the knob. So now that is all one piece, which is really nice. And also in my testing, I wanted to see if there were any light leaks because I need to make sure I can trust the camera. So I took my phone, I put it inside the camera in a dark room, turned on the flashlight and was shining it around. And I did discover that there were 2 light leaks. I don't know if they would contribute to anything. One was where the bellows are glued to the rear standard here. And then there was another one that was on the other side. And I felt where it was kind of bubbled up just a little bit. All I did is I took the back off the camera and put a little bit of glue on like a butter knife and just kind of like stuck it in there, put some pressure on it, and then that fixed it. So I would recommend that you inspect the bellows just to make sure everything is glued down nice and tight. And I think I am now ready to actually start using this in the field. I do want to run some film through it before going on the backpacking trip because it's a pretty long hike and I want to make sure that everything is exactly as I expect. So I'm thinking maybe next week I'll go on a little hike, maybe expose some black and white film, some of those cool dead trees up in the Kwik State Park area. Develop the film, make sure that there's no surprises. But I will say that despite the little quirks of the Intrepid 8x10 camera, it's a very lovable camera. I think it's the fact that it's so light, it's so slim, and it's very easy to forgive it for its flaws because it does save about 7 pounds off my back, which is pretty nice. But I look forward to taking this on the trip, continuing to learn with it, and if I learn anything else, I will share it with you guys. But definitely looking forward to taking this over to Southern Utah.